Good evening, Secretariat. Please do confirm if you're able to hear me clearly, and also my video is.
Yes, sir. Perfectly fine, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much for confirming, Shivang. Really appreciate
Thank you.
your continued support and gesture. Very warm welcome to all of you. This is so great. Fine Sunday evening, and so many eminent people have joined in. Such a pleasure. I'm Dr. Pawan K. Gupta, Secretary AEOH Haryana Branch, and a member Executive Committee, Indian Association of Occupational Health, Delhi Branch. Extending a very warm welcome on behalf of the organization, on behalf of both the organizations. And thank you all for sparing your time this Sunday evening to deliberate on this very important subject matter. As we are spot on time, and I see that eminent people have already joined in, and also panelists as well as attendees and audience. I'm really thankful once again. With that, just quick housekeeping, and in 10 seconds, we start. Okay. So we have gathered today to commemorate World Mental Health Day. And this is on ENOC DG Connect webinar platform of Delhi branch of Indian Association of Occupational Health, as I just mentioned. We have been doing a series of webinars all throughout the year, and it has been really overwhelming to see the response and also the knowledge bank that we have created. We have channel, YouTube channel, and other platforms as well where it is easily accessible. So thank you very much to all who have been continually supporting us and who have been continually with us throughout this entire time. Without taking any further minute, it will be a panel discussion on importance of mental health for workers, for business continuity. And on this occasion of World Mental Health Day 2021, the theme on which we are taking ahead is mental health care for all. Let's make it a reality. Important aspect and important topic. And we will hear from eminent panelists as well as from
There's some technical issue with Dr. Pawan. I think he will join. In the meantime, I welcome you all for this important session, and I welcome Dr. Anjing Nagpal, all the doctors available in this platform from different geographical regions of the country, Mrs. Asha Kapoor from FAM Health and Mrs. Vishali Pramanik from FAM Health. So actually this association, madam, is a association of about more than 3,000 factory medical officers, occupational health physicians, industrial physicians, public health physicians across India. And we have different branches in different states, and like Delhi branch, they have more than 250 members, and they had been conducting this ENOC DigiConnect webinar series for last 1.5 years when this particular pandemic started. And we all had been there connecting with our people, networking with our people so that they don't feel isolated during this pandemic. And we had more than 74 learned faculties who had deliberated during this weekly webinar connects, and we had been connecting with these learned faculties and discussing issues which are relevant during that particular time for the for the doctors who are our members. And this particular DigiConnect series is live telecasted on our YouTube channel also. And our learned faculties, they have really dedicated their time in the new normal, and we are conducted more than 72 of these. This is the 73rd of the weekly DigiConnect webinars. Dr. Rajiv Kumar Jain, sir, he has been elaborating. He is our Vice President of AESD also. He has been deliberating on the COVID rapid updates, means the evolution of the pandemic. We closely observe the pandemic evolution every week, and accordingly, whatever is the situation, we get guidance from him from how to take care of our workers' health, our people, our families, and how to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. Then another important aspect of this DigiConnect webinar is the OcuHealth Escapes. We have already covered monthly OcuHealth Escapes. OcuHealth Escapes is the occupational health, that is preventive health issues which are there for the last 1 month. They are being discussed, and Dr. Rajiv Kumar Jain is the resource person for that. And really, it has also gone very well. And we have the thing on this World Mental Health Day, what is important is the connect, and that connect we have tried to establish. And we have also connected with Dr. Pawan Kumar Gupta.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Dr. Sharma, thank you so much. My sincerest apologies. This is first time ever that internet got disconnected. My apologies to all of you. Sorry. Just taking it ahead over to our AUH President, Dr. Shriniket Mishra, to please give the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. Namaste. Good evening to everyone.
Very good evening, sir.
On behalf of AOEH Haryana branch, I welcome all the participants, panelists. On occasion of this World Mental Health, we are conducting this panel discussion. This is a very important topic currently, especially in the times of this pandemic. There are several mental health issues among the employees, work from home and COVID-related issues. There are several psychosocial issues. So I think this is a very important topic, and we will have a good discussion. So Dr. Pawan, without wasting much time, we should start the program.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for giving a go ahead. I really appreciate your gesture. And in order of that, moving on to introduce with whom all we have been joined today, and a brief introduction about our key panelists who have spared their time to be with us. So, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Jain, Vice President AUHD, Delhi branch of IOH, Senior Consultant Health, Indian Railways, New Delhi. 40 years of experience in health and hospital administration. Very good evening, sir, and a very warm welcome, Dr. Rajiv Jain, sir. Dr. Sandeep Sharma, Honorary General Secretary, IOH and AUHD, General Manager, Corporate, HSE, Medical, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Dr. Sharma is a technically accomplished medical specialist with over 25 years rich experience in medical management, medical advisor, health safety and management with Indian Oil Corporation Limited. A very warm welcome to Dr. Sharma. Thank you for joining and sparing your time, Dr. Sharma. Dr. Ashish Vijay Jain, Vice President AUHD. Dr. Ashish is currently working as Executive Vice President, Head of Health and Wellbeing, Asia, MEA, Russia, and CIS, GlaxoSmithKline Beecham, GSK. We all know the organization very well. A very warm welcome, Dr. Jain, and it would be a pleasure to hear you this evening. Dr. Shriniket Mishra, already introduced, but then giving a brief introduction in detail. President AUH Haryana, Chief Medical Officer, Hero MotoCorp Limited. Doctor, a lot of kudos and awards have already won by Dr. Mishra, and we are very privileged that he is with us. Occupational health and wellness physician having over 21 years of experience in medical practice, presently working with Hero MotoCorp Limited, world's largest two-wheeler manufacturer, as Chief Medical Officer of organization and based in New Delhi, India. Very warm welcome once again, Dr. Mishra. Ms. Asha Kapoor, a founder and MD, FAM Health, Chief Medical Officer, Hero Motorcar Limited. Over 30 years work in advertising and marketing at Lintas and McCann, Ericsson, New York, Consumer Health, followed by setting up new ventures. McCann Healthcare India, one of the first specialist agencies in this domain. Indeed, Ms. Kapoor, such a pleasure to have you today with us this fine evening. Thank you so much for sparing your time. Dr. Anjali Nagpal, psychiatrist, founder, Serenity Clinic, Delhi. Dr. Nagpal was selected by University of Maryland and worked in USA as a CRA at schizophrenia-related disorder clinic, which has produced most international psychiatric scales. And she has been doing RTMS for last 7 years. Dr. Nagpal, such a pleasure having you with us this evening. Thank you so much for sparing your time. And then we come to Ms. Vrishali Puranik, CEO and Strategy Head, FAM Health. Ms. Puranik's career spans over 25 years. Her tenure at NDTV involved setting up broadcast and digital businesses with India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Dubai. She has set up over 10 English and regional platforms. Wonderful, Ms. Puranik, having you here. A very good evening once again, and a very warm welcome to you too. With that, I once again welcome to all the attendees and definitely the speakers. Thank you so much, and hand it over to Dr. Rajiv Kumar Jain to set the tone for the evening and also share his thoughts and perspectives on World Mental Day 2021. Over to Dr. Jain, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, all the participants and the panelists. Today being the World Mental Health Day has special significance because this is coming within the pandemic and how important it has been for the last 20 months. Everybody knows how mental health has come to center stage. You cannot keep it at the backyard of your thoughts and your expression and your action. So the World Health Organization declared the theme for the World Mental Health Day 2021 as mental health care for all. Let's make it a reality. It underscores action. It underscores urgency. It underscores the importance the mental health is going to play in the post-pandemic world. So let's understand what are the key messages that World Health Organization wants us to carry to all the stakeholders. The first key message is the health argument. Close to 1 billion people have a mental disorder, and anyone, anywhere can be affected. Depression is a leading cause of disability worldwide and is a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. Globally, it is estimated that 5% of adults suffer from depression. Globally, 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds experience a mental disorder. Half of all such disorders start by age 14 years, but most are undetected and untreated. People with severe mental disorders such as schizophrenia tend to die 10 to 20 years earlier than the general population. 1 in every 100 deaths is by suicide. It is the 4th leading cause of death for young people. aged 15 to 29 years. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a considerable impact on people's mental health. That's the health argument. Let's see the other key message. The care gap is the second important key message. Despite the universal nature and the magnitude of mental ill health, the gap between demand for mental health services and supply remains substantial. Relatively few people around the world have access to quality mental health services. The serious gaps that still exist in mental health care are a result of chronic underinvestment over many decades in mental health promotion, prevention, and care. Stigma, discrimination, and human rights abuses of people with mental health conditions remain widespread. The third key message is the economic cost. The lost productivity resulting from depression and anxiety, two of the most common mental disorders, cost the global economy $1 trillion each year. $1 trillion each year. The fourth key message is the investment deficit. On average, countries spend just 2% of their national health budgets on mental health. This has changed little in recent years. Despite an increase of development assistance for mental health in recent years, it has never exceeded 1% of development assistance for health. After the fourth key message, let's see the fifth key message. The good news. Some of the most common mental health conditions, depression and anxiety, can be treated with talking therapies, medication, or a combination of these. Simple. For every $1 invested in scaled up treatment for depression and anxiety, there is a return of $5. For every $1 invested in evidence-based treatment for drug dependence, there is a return of up to $7 in reduced crime and criminal justice costs. The generalist health workers can be trained to diagnose and treat mental health conditions. Regular health checks of people with severe mental disorders can prevent premature death. The quality of life of people living with conditions such as autism and dementia can be greatly improved when their caregivers receive appropriate training. The rights of people living with mental health conditions can be protected and promoted through mental health legislation, policy, development of affordable, quality community-based mental health services, and the involvement of people with lived experience. So these are the 5 key messages for today. That is the World Mental Health Day. Now I will show you 8 slides where what we can do and what we can do effectively on the ground to tackle the situation. Next slide. First is depression. What you should know. If you think that you might have depression, I have shown you what is depression, what you can do, and remember the 3 parts. Today we are discussing what you can do. Talk to someone you trust about your feelings. Most people find that talking to someone who cares about them helps. Seek professional help. Your local healthcare worker or doctor is a good place to start. Try to keep doing at least some of the activities that you usually enjoy. Stay connected with friends and family. Exercise regularly, even if it's just a short walk. Stick to regular eating and sleeping habits as much as possible. Avoid or restrict alcohol intake and don't use illicit drugs. They can make depression worse. If you feel suicidal, contact someone you trust for help or ring the emergency services. Remember, with the right support, you can get better. So if you think you might be depressed, seek help. Second slide. Wondering why your pregnancy or new baby is not making you happy? Being pregnant and having a baby are major life events that can cause worry, tiredness, and sadness. Usually, these feelings don't last long, but if they do, you may be suffering from depression or anxiety. There is a lot you can do, but remember, depression and anxiety during pregnancy and after childbirth are very common. Don't be afraid to seek help. If you have thoughts of harming yourself or your baby, contact someone you trust or call the emergency services straight away. Next slide. Living with someone with depression. Remember, when you live with someone with depression, you can help them recover, but it's important to look after yourself too. Take care of yourself too. Try to find ways to relax and continue doing things you enjoy. Make it clear that you want to help, listen without judgment, and offer support. Find out more about depression. Talking to someone you know who has recovered or a local health worker are good places to start. Encourage them to seek professional help and offer to go with them to appointments. If they are prescribed medications, help them remember to take it. Be patient. Recovery can take time. Help them with everyday tasks and to have regular eating and sleeping patterns. Encourage regular exercise and social activities. But be mindful that trying to do too much can be stressful and make depression worse. Encourage them to focus on the positive rather than the negative. If they are thinking about self-harm or have already intentionally harmed themselves, don't leave them alone. Seek help from the emergency services or a healthcare professional and remove items such as medicines, sharp objects, and firearms. Next, please. Worried that your child is depressed? Growing up is full of changes like starting school, going through puberty, and preparing for examinations. For some children, changes like this can cause stress and depression. Talk to your child about how they are feeling and whether anything is worrying them. Pay particular attention to their well-being during life changes such as starting a new school or puberty. Encourage your child to get enough sleep, eat regularly, be physically active, and to do things they normally enjoy. Spend time with them. Speak to people you trust who know your child to see if they have noticed anything that might be worrying them. Ask your healthcare provider for advice. Don't delay getting in touch if you're worried. Protect your child from situations where they may experience excessive stress, maltreatment, or violence. If a child has the thoughts of self-harm or has already self-harmed, seek help from the emergency services or a healthcare professional and remove items such as medicines, sharp objects, and firearms. Remember, if you think your child might be depressed, talk to them about how they are feeling and don't be afraid to seek professional help. Next slide. Preventing depression during teens and 20s. Adolescence and young adulthood present many new opportunities, but this time of change can also be stressful and cause depression. Talk to someone you trust about how you are feeling. Seek professional help. Your local healthcare worker or a doctor is a good place to start. Stay connected with friends and family. Exercise regularly, even if it's just a short walk. Stick to regular eating and sleeping habits. Avoid or restrict alcohol intake and refrain from using illicit drugs. They can make depression worse. Try to keep doing things that you have always enjoyed, even when you don't feel like it. Be kind to yourself and try to focus on the positive. Congratulate yourself on your achievements, past and present, no matter how small. Remember, you are not alone. If you think you might have depression, talk to someone you trust or seek professional help. Next, please. Preventing and treating depression as you get older. Some of the life changes that come with aging can cause depression. Keep up with activities that you enjoy and find alternatives for things that are no longer possible. Stay connected with friends and family. Eat at regular intervals and get enough sleep. Exercise regularly if you can, even if it's a short walk. Avoid or restrict alcohol intake and only take medicine as prescribed by your healthcare provider. If you think you may be depressed, talk to someone you trust about your feelings. Seek professional help. Your local healthcare worker or doctor is a good place to start. Remember, don't lose hope and don't be afraid to ask for help. There is lots that can be done to prevent and treat depression. Do you feel like life is not worth living? You are not alone. Many people have gone through what you are experiencing and found help. It's okay to talk about suicide. Talking can help alleviate some of the feelings you are experiencing. Experiencing thoughts of suicide or self-harm is a sign of severe emotional distress. Thinking about suicide is not a weakness and nothing to feel guilty about. You can get better. Help is available. Talk to someone you can trust you about how you feel. Talk to health workers such as doctor, a mental health professional, or a counselor or social worker. Join a support group. If you think you are in immediate danger of harming yourself, contact the emergency services or a crisis line. Remember, you are not alone. If you feel like life is not worth living, reach out for help. Next. Do you know someone who may be considering suicide? It's not uncommon to think about taking your own life. Who is at risk? People who have tried to take their own life before, people in acute emotional distress or with depression, someone who is socially isolated, someone with alcohol or drug problems, people living with a chronic pain or illness, people who have experienced violence, abuse, or other trauma, and people from groups of society that are marginalized or discriminated against. What you can do: find an appropriate time and quiet place to talk with the person you are worried about. Let them know that you are there to listen. Encourage them to seek help from a health worker, such as a doctor or a mental health professional, or a counselor or a social worker, and offer to accompany them to the appointment. If you think someone is in immediate danger, don't leave them alone. Contact the emergency services, a crisis line, a health worker, or a family member. If the person you're worried about lives with you, make sure they don't have access to means of self-harm at home. Check in regularly to see how they are doing. Remember, if you know someone who may be considering suicide, talk to them about it, listen with an open mind, and offer your support. I thank your generosity for your attention, because attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jan, for setting that excellent tone for today's evening. I really appreciate your gesture. Definitely a serious concern. 1 in every 7 human being is suffering from this problem, this trouble. With 7 billion population, 1 billion people are affected, and a gross, definitely, situation. Let's see how best we would be able to contribute and take it ahead. With that, I move on to our next panelist and would like to reiterate that we'll have 3 minutes for each of our eminent panelists for their thoughts and inputs and suggestions, and also their deliberation. And we'll have some 10-15 minutes by end of this webinar, as we will try to finish it by 7 p.m. so that you all have a lot of time for this wonderful Sunday evening. With moving on to Dr. Nagpal for her perspective and her thoughts. Dr. Nagpal, please. Dr. Anjali Nagpal, I hope you are able to hear us.
Yeah, hi, I'm there. So thank you so much. And it was really a very elaborate description, Dr. Jan, and you have nearly covered, most of the points. So something, I would like to talk from a psychiatrist, view and the perspective that we have. So thing is that when we talk about mental health, it is something, which we quite often take it for granted, we somewhere there's a lot of stigma attached. It is very much there. It's a global phenomena, not just in India, in US, everywhere we go, this is a very talked about thing. But I think that, times are changing now. I think now psychiatry isn't restricted to signs and symptoms. It has gone to the level of neurosciences now. Now that we are actually talking about the genetic basis, we are talking about the mutations, which are happening, through which we can come to know that if, as we call it as epigenetics, it is not just genetics, because, it is something which is very much dependent, from one population to the other. So the genes, they keep on varying. That's why we cannot pinpoint that this is schizophrenia. This person will have, this is somebody who is at risk or is predisposed to having. So it is what you are born with, what sort of environment you are having. So interaction of that, and then the way that you are growing up, the decisions you are making, the choices you are making, and the way that you are actually making yourself, resilient towards different situations, the way that you are building your coping mechanisms. And then now the way things are changing is that apart from, the symptoms, the history, that is very vital part for which, we as psychiatrists, we go so much in detail. Now we have reached a stage where we are doing brain mapping, where we are finding out, on the basis of, these are EEG based, recordings that we have. And then we have normative data which are there, unfortunately, not in India, but in US, there, few normative data are there, then in Germany and 3-4 other nations. So what they do is they have those, of the general population, about, some number, and how their EEG would be. And then they compare it with various, different patients that are there. And then we can actually predict that, okay, this particular part of the brain, probably this is getting impacted. And on the basis of that, we can come to know whether this, whatever disorder we are talking about, has it reached a level of irreversible change. So then our approach to that problem completely changes. So now I feel that these are few things where I think psychiatry, probably once it comes to that level where it is seen more as a neuroscience and evidence-based, sort of data based specifically on the findings that we have, I think in the coming decade or so, things are changing. They are changing, in a few of the universities, they are doing excellent work. And, we'll be seeing a lot of change happening. So, and now, where do we face the problem whenever we have any client who has come up and say who is probably in a state of mind wherein they want to do some sort of self-harm. So, or it could be somebody who wants to get violent. These are very emergency sort of situations that we have in psychiatry. So how do we actually approach these people? That is where, the lot of learning goes in this. So what we normally, there's a small mnemonic which we have made, which says that, you have to take care of the safest. Now, safest, how do we break that down? Safest would be that, first of all, that you have to keep, the distance, appropriate distance from that person, so that the person does not get intimidated, number one. Number two, the way that you are actually, appearing, or the way that you are talking, it has to be very empathetic, showing your concern, your affection, telling them, not being judgmental there, not being that, okay, you should have done something, those sort of generalized statements that we may sometimes give. So being very careful in what we are actually, how we are talking to them. Then apart from that, then focusing on that person, what exactly, while you are talking to them, you are actually trying to build some sort of rapport, so that the person actually starts focusing on the way that you are actually coming closer, and in the meantime, you're also seeing whether this person is in some way going to harm himself or he can harm somebody else. So, and then after that, slowly then involving that person in some sort of de-escalation and bringing him down from the way that, the situation, it may have become very tense, bringing it down somewhere. And later, then once you feel that the patient had stabilized and you feel that the client, the person is actually come to that level, then slowly, because nobody would actually get that aggressive that it comes to a level that you actually lose control. So there has to be some reason, and it needs a proper workup by a mental health team. And we need to actually understand what happened, why did this person behave? Was it something which was, the environmental thing? Was it something which happened some time back? Because, the way that we have, grown up and the way our childhood experiences, they actually matter a lot. Or it could be something going in some other, area of that person's life, and it is being displaced here. It may not be anything to do with the situation that is happening, but probably this person was already filled with so much of negativity and so much of, feeling so much, disgusted, that just one small thing actually brought about a lot. So we have to see, or is it something already, this person may be having some control disorder, as we call it, as that impulse control disorder, it may be there, or it could be a bipolar disorder, or it could be something else. Sometimes these are very soft signs which haven't even reached the real thing. But in case if they are brought at the right time, we can actually diagnose them, and we can actually, make them bring about a lot of change in their quality of life. So this is something, in which I think the way that patients need to be, or these, we call it clients, but of course they are like, if these are the people where we need to actually start focusing and seeing what is wrong, and how to actually handle that situation. So anybody who sometimes that we come across, like you so rightly mentioned about suicide, now it is not, we cannot call it as an illness. It is basically that particular moment which has probably gone to, to that extreme that this person wants to take that step. So somewhere at that point, making that person understand this is not what you want to do. This is, the way we tell it, this is part of your illness, and you have to understand that once you feel better, you will understand that this is something which you never wanted to do. So making that person, giving them some insight, it might work, at times, or just being there, just calming that person, giving them the comfort, making them understand that might be, this is just about an impulsive decision they want to take, telling them to label their thoughts. Quite often the clients, they would come and they may be having a lot of, anger, or, sometimes the way that they are behaving. That time we tell them that just label these thoughts, tell them that this is not what you are. This is what this particular moment is actually making you behave. So that takes the pressure off the person. They understand that this is not something they are being, they are being blamed for. This is might be that particular time, the way that they have to actually, they are behaving. So apart from that, what I wanted to talk about was that, there are few things during these tough times, COVID, post-COVID, that this new normal that we have. And certainly these are difficult times for all of us. And how, we should be actually facing. Of course, WHO has given such a good guidelines, but I have made my small, way of actually small mnemonic for it. So I call it as 6 R's. So 6 R's would be routine, restriction, relaxation, relationship, rhythm, resilience. So these are the 6 R's. So the first, routine, of course, we all know we need to maintain a routine. It's very, very important, in which you are going to the bed at the same time, and you have your fixed meal times, and then you have certainly regular breaks. Then restriction, of course, being careful that you are not giving in too much to exposure to whatever sort of, news or, whatever different sort of inputs you are getting, being very careful how much time you are spending there. Then, interestingly, when we talk about relaxation, I'm very particular to tell all my clients to be careful that when they are relaxing, if they are saying that we want to relax, if you are indulging in hobbies, then you have to have 3 set of hobbies. Now, why do I say 3 set of hobbies? 1 set of hobby is something which can keep you physically fit. This is your motor area. That keeps you very fit. The second set of hobby should be something which keeps you intellectually stimulated. It could be reading any sort of novels. It could be following some course if you want to follow, or it could be talking to somebody, which is actually, which helps you. Like I think right now we are doing, we are actually, gaining a lot from each other. And the third, which is very, very important, is that most of us, who are too much into work, who are doing a lot of, activity, the left side of our brain is being used quite often. But the right side of brain, which is the one which is creatively, we get a lot of, chemicals even if a little bit of work we are doing creatively. It could be about any musical instrument. It could be something to do with, your painting, coloring, or anything where, your creativity is being used. So most of it, what we are using is, you are using more of your left brain, where all your hearing, you're associating, all those sort of, circuits are here. But the right side of the brain is the one which is not being used too much. So if even a little bit of activity we can inculcate here, it can give us really rich dividends. And then apart from that, keeping a rhythm is very important. That say, when all this lockdown was there, following, some sort of serial or a book, but being very sure that you are reading 1 chapter at a time, so that every day you're looking forward to the next day. And maintaining your relationships, it's important. That we all know that man is a social animal. And we gain a lot by observing each other. We all get all sorts of, we get the right sort of momentum. We look forward to, all some sort of ambitions and all. We all do that on a very subconscious level. Consciously, we may not be aware. Consciously, we may say that, no, we are doing what we feel right. But the subconscious and unconscious mind plays a very, very important role. And it makes us what we are today. So, it's very important for us to actually remain with the right sort of company. And one more thing, while we are saying this, gratitude is one thing which is gaining a lot of, right sort of importance, because that is actually making your brain actually accept things. And in some way that again is giving us a lot of, happy chemicals. And while I'm on this, I would also like to, add about one small fact which is coming up these days, which is called as, post-reinforcement stimulation. Now, this fact is that if you are actually doing any work, it is very important that you break down those, into small steps. Now, when you break that down, every time that you complete a small step, all the brain areas, they get into, all these nerve circuits, they get stimulated and they produce excess of serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, and, all these chemicals. So it is important for us not only to actually, aim for things. It is important for us to see how we are doing it, so that once we are going in the right direction, with the right steps, it is really going to help our mental health. So these are the major sort of topics that these days are, are really of importance as far as mental health and psychiatry is concerned. And then, apart from that, of course, as you keep on going on, you maintain your rhythm, and slowly when you go through some tough times, you grow the right sort of, coping strategies, coping mechanisms, and slowly you become resilient. So it is important for us to also go through tough times to actually become resilient and strong enough so that we are ready to face, the next, task or any sort of hurdles that are going to come our way. And that is how we build our character. So these are few things which just came into my mind. I thought, I should actually mention. So thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me. And it's really a big honor for me to be here sharing this stage with everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagpal. That was really wonderful and very kind of you for sparing time and sharing those amazing thoughts. Definitely diagnostic approach, your about the mnemonics. I took some notes and definitely these are going to help all of us. Definitely. And then approaching a case, how to take it ahead and then supporting. So and definitely the best part is the 6 R's and also the 3 hobbies. So we all are going to remember that for long. Routine, relaxation, rhythm, a lot of things. And the last part that you mentioned is definitely very important, and that being raising the resilience part and being in attitude of gratitude. So I personally see that it's more or less similar to that a connotation of developing the immunity. When your resilience is developing, you are becoming more and more stronger and probably to handle those difficult situations. Thank you so much, Dr. Nagpal. Really appreciate be with us because we'll have some questions and some good questions probably from the audience, and I would appreciate if you can take those up. Thank you. With that, I move on to Ms. Asha Kapoor. And Ms. Kapoor, before I hand it over to you, my sincerest apologies on one point. I definitely read your designation, but then I mixed one more designation by reading it out. So Ms. Kapoor is founder and MD Fam Health, and I really thank you for joining in. Please, a pragmatic approach towards the healthcare industry workforce. What would be your perspective and take on the practical aspects of industry workforce on mental health? Over to you.
So much. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta. And I don't think you should apologize at all. I thought I got promoted. So I was actually rejoicing secretly saying, "Kisi ne to pehchana." So moving on, I am mindful that we're shortly going to run out of time completely.
Yes.
I'm going to take no more than 1 minute to say my piece. So to begin with, it's such a delight to be here. And and greetings on World Mental Health Day. Actually, the fact that we're taking this conversation with such sincerity is what has impressed me a lot. Fam Health is a relatively young, relatively new company. So if you don't know what we do, I wouldn't blame you because we're a young startup. Other than creating content, so we run a TV channel with Tata Sky. It's called Tata Sky Family Health, which is one of its only dedicated channels on health, where the focus is really family. So our name Fam Health stands for family health, because we believe, and I will come to the connection with mental health in a second. We believe that if we need to control or manage the health situation in India, then you need to involve the family. It's the wife who runs the kitchen. She's the one who decides the mood. She's the one who, determines the pace of the family. And you cannot have a health conversation without the wife. The second part, and this is much before Corona times, that, we had this entire insight that India's alarming growth of non-communicable diseases. Yeah. I mean, forget conditions. Problems like obesity, etc., are directly proportional to your mental health. Yeah, if you're feeling happy, then you tend to be a lot more disciplined. If you're not happy, then you will be indisciplined. So your emotional health is completely connected with any lifestyle conditions. And we as a company, therefore, had been, even before Corona, offering communities to people or talk therapies and peer-to-peer groups and conversations. Dr. Nagpal, we're very fortunate, has been with us for a long time. supporting us and telling us कि ये गलत है और ये सही है, because both Vrishali and I come from a more media background, although we are understanding the sciences. Specifically, and I'm sure my colleague Vrishali would talk about this at greater length hereafter, but very recently we've been doing, and it's an interesting piece, and I must talk about this, is when it comes to employees and workers and mental health. We have been working with a large company as a pilot, where we got, the top few doctors of psychiatrists of India to work out an employee assistance program to understand what is it that we need to be doing in terms of interventions as a pilot. This is very interesting because it's thrown up things I hadn't expected. So the way we approach this, and again under the guidance and aegis of some renowned personalities, what we did is a two-step process. So while people say mental health for all, how do you actually give mental health for all? Considering that if you look at our society as a pyramid, when 70 to 80% people feel I don't have a problem at all. Yeah, we did two interventions as part of our pilot study. We still continue doing it right now. One part was, of course, the final consults, counseling calls. The other greater part was the emphasis on sensitization sessions. What was remarkable, and of course, details I cannot reveal here, and should anybody want to know about details, I'd be more than happy to take this offline. But the results were quite outstanding, which is where we understood that number one, after our sensitization sessions, which are chats, guftagu, chal baat kare, not here are some slides and here is what you need to do and don't need to do. After these sessions, the amount of people, about 15 to 20% people, and I'm speaking of my head right now on these percentages, reached out and they said, yeah, we think we need to look at this a little more seriously. That was one part. The second part which emerged, and that was to me interesting, was that when we spoke to employees and we spoke about mental health challenges, largely it was about conflict and personalities. But the larger part of the challenges that they themselves had was on issues of family and related to family. So you cannot have any conversation on mental health, in my view, or at least that's what the study is turning out to be. You cannot have a conversation on mental health and restrict it to employees in the workforce, right? And the third part, which was, so, you need to have the family. The third part was, of course, personalities and dealing with conflicts, etc., were the obvious things that we needed to pretty much, cover. What was important is, and that's a large thought I'm going to leave us with, is that between sensitization sessions and the actual call, you need a series of interventions to make this impactful. Much is based on Mann's 3 R's, 6 R's and 3 habits that we're talking about. And so we are in the process of devising and getting clarity on this topic. So that's the only thing I had to say on mental health. I am so happy you're taking it seriously and with such sincerity. We would love to talk more about mental health given lifestyle diseases. And one of our life's missions is to make sure through the digital platform, we can connect the top end doctors of India, who's the cream of their specialization, to access, the worker who's actually at the factory or the coal mine. So we try and make sure that we can do a digital connect with people with a human touch. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kapoor, for sharing those wonderful thoughts. And yes, discipline and indiscipline, and definitely about sharing the details about your channel and with the thoughts that you're leaving us. Definitely, we are going to deliberate more, and maybe in coming days, we would like to have honor of inviting you once again for more detailed and deliberate discussion. We keep keeping fingers crossed, and we'll see if that fits in your schedule very soon. Thank you. Yes. With that, moving on to Ms. Puranik, Shali Puranik, thank you so much for spending your time and the perspective that we would like to hear from you is related to post-COVID coping up mechanism, how people are, the people who were affected with it, and having that media background, definitely, and that kind of exposure. We would like to hear from you, your views, your thoughts, and your perspective, how to take it ahead. Ms. Pranik, please.
Dr. Gupta, thank you so much. You're doing a very, very fine job, first of all. Getting, all these really, really tall people talk about such an important topic. So I really thank you for that. Thank you, Dr. Jain, also giving us very nice statistics and data right at the beginning to set the tone of the conversation. And I thank each and every one of you sparing time on a Sunday. Yes, it's a very, very important day. World Mental Health Day needs to be celebrated as an awareness program. And I think the most important thing that we've all been talking about is how to remove the stigma so that people come out a lot more to adopt it as any other physical health condition that they normally do. So I think that is an excellent initiative, and kudos to everyone over here. Dr. Gupta, as you mentioned, post-COVID, we have been as a platform, and I've been privileged to interview many, many doctors in the space of mental health. And post-COVID, we have seen a large increase in the adoption and people coming out. And so first and foremost, I think a big pat on the back for everybody who's doing it. Going forward, I think to make this entire plan a success where people talk about mental health more openly, we have been discussing, and again, I'm no expert, I'm not a doctor myself, but what we have seen doctors say time and again is that the intervention needs to go to the last mile. That is the most and primary important thing that needs to be done. It's all okay for us to have discussions here, but how do we reach the masses? How do we reach the last mile? So we have two options. One is that we have this beautiful technology that's available to us. And like Asha mentioned, we are already doing a lot of work in that field. And I kudos to corporates as well as PSUs to take this up in a really big way, where they've started at least understanding the importance and they're engaging people like us to take it forward. So two things that Jai said, one is using technology and the second is doing a human touch by peer groups. You know, during COVID, what happened was that we all live in communities in Delhi, Gurgaon, and we built these small communities where there was one buddy who used to take care of a smaller group of people. And being able to really be there for every person made a large difference in people being able to reach out. And that is what you want to achieve at the end of doing this entire program, right? There is a stigma, people hesitate. Making that first phone call is always something that you hesitate. So if you have these small peer groups that you can formulate with one person who's kind of heading it, the relatability becomes much, much easier and there is a comfort that is established. I think we should learn from schools because children and teachers are doing this on a daily basis. So why not take that at a different level and apply it to us over here? So that is one idea. And the second thing that I have noticed is that using celebrities who have now come out in the open to talk about their mental health issues is also a really, really important way to make people understand that it is easy to come out and it is important to come out with your issues. We had this very beautiful dialogue that was done a couple of weeks ago, where one statement came out saying, it's okay not to be okay. Yeah. And that has become like a theme that we would like to follow when we talk about this entire platform. And the third most important thing is that I think when we say mental health day, if we could in some way change that, because severity is not what we always talk about. We are talking about all of us as you and me as normal people who also go through issues of stress and tension. And so if we could change that and coin it to something related to emotional well-being of sorts, I think maybe the acceptance of the subject matter may become slightly more easier and the stigma may be reduced considerably. So that's all I have to say. Again, like Asha mentioned, we'd be happy to come to another platform where we can discuss more in detail, because there are so many ideas and you'd be surprised how many ideas people themselves who are struggling come up with and share with us, which would be a fantastic thing to share with everybody here. So thank you, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pranik. It's definitely a pleasure. And I must congratulate you for the efforts and the initiative that you have taken. Kudos to all the hard efforts and endeavors. Definitely loads of luck for your plans and future endeavors that you are going to take up. With all those things you are putting together, and as you mentioned, fairly new venture, we wish you loads of luck to Fam Health. Thank you. And with that, I will request Dr. Shriket Mishra to share the perspective from the organization, largest organization, which is manufacturing something in its domain, or the largest one. Please, Dr. Mishra, over to you for your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. So, like most of the organization, in my organization also 4 or 5 years back, the focus on health was only physical health. There's not much importance to mental health. There are no mental health policy, mental health management system. So around 2017, we recognized that mental health is a big issue. Organization made a mental health policy. We made some programs, and organizations think that the mental health is more important because they lead to the physical health issues also. Somebody having stress, anxiety, and other issues that leads to diabetes, hypertension, cardiac, and other diseases. So this affects the performance of the employees and indirectly leads to the decrease in productivity of the organization. So now most of the organizations are focusing on mental health much more than earlier. Previously, we used to have some stress management program or some counseling session and other things, but now we have a structured program. We have a EAP partner. Pan India, we have a partnership. Our employees and their family members are covered. All permanent workers are covered. We are covering around 36,000 people in my organization with the EAP partner, and they are providing the confidential services. So employees don't have to worry that organization is tracking any of their mental health issues. Only in the case of some suicidal tendency, they inform the designated people from that location, and then we take steps to in case the employee is having some suicidal thoughts or suicidal tendency. So this has been a very good program, and now the employees and their family members are using. Utilization rates are also very good. And last year, due to COVID, we had around 6% utilization. So usually it is 1 to 3%, but we had more than 6% utilization. So we think that there were some issues. Also, this agency is helping us in training our management people. So how to recognize the mental health issues among their subordinates, and then how to communicate, how to deal with the issues, and when to intervene. So these trainings are also being given, so that they are aware and they can manage their subordinate health issues, mental health issues. We regularly conduct stress management programs, webinars. We are avoiding this physical meetings and other things, but webinars are there in this COVID times. So employees are participating. 2 days back, we conducted one webinar on this World Mental Health Day. So we had a very good participation and lots of queries and questions from the employees regarding what is considered as a good mental health. So there are many misconceptions, but now the people are opening up and they're ready to take help in case of mental health issues. Earlier, there was some branding that somebody having some mental health issues, then is a psychiatric case and other things. But now the society and the organizations are also opening up, and then we want to help our employees to deal with any mental health issues. So this organization also helps not only in the depression and anxiety issues, they also do counseling for this, any marriage problem, work related issues, financial issues, legal issues. So we are seeing the good benefit of this mental health program. So we have a policy and a good program. We also monitor the success of all the initiatives on a yearly basis, and then modify the interventions if required. So thank you, Dr. Pawan, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for sharing your thoughts. And good to learn that there have been lot significant changes and development related to policies, related to intervention that you are taking at the organization, fairly large organization. And I'm sure these intervention will help you with a lot of accolades and also a lot of awards. So good that we always keep getting insights from you and keep learning. Thank you very much once again, and Dr. Mishra, for sparing your time. With that, quickly move on to Dr. Ashish Vijay Jain from GSK, and let's see what's happening at GSK. Dr. Ashish Vijay Jain, over to you, please. No, yes,
Hi,
now I can
thanks.
see you. Now I can see you. Please.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Pawan. And I should say that after hearing to some esteemed speakers, right from Dr. Rajiv, right from Dr. Mishra, and our distinguished speakers from FamHealth, I feel that we have spoken so much and we have given some wonderful insights of how it's all making a difference.
Mhm.
Now, when I speak about GSK, let me attribute that I'm kind of speaking on how multinationals would be approaching this important topic. And when I think of GSK, employer with presence in more than 100 countries, mental health, interestingly, while we speak about on a human basis, but mental health also has cultural connotations. Mental health also has interpersonal connotations, and how the family has been as a pillar of support. So for us at GSK, when we think about it starts right from our mission statement itself. And for us, it's do more, feel better, live longer. GSK being a healthcare company, one of the largest pharmaceutical and vaccine company in the world, it makes a lot of sense when the leaders believe in health and well-being. And I think as we think of becoming future ready, becoming the future employer, mental health and well-being becomes even more important. One of the speakers earlier talked about renaming mental health as emotional well-being. Well, I couldn't agree more. And for us in GSK, the journey on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being began around 15 years back. We realized that as an employer, what's there in our remit is to kind of think how employees can differ in their response to stress. What we cannot change is the stimuli, but what we can change is the behavior to the stimuli. And hence, we actually embarked on a complete program, which was called as Energy for Performance, talking about all the aspects of energy. I think speaking of mental health alone will not make a difference. We need to connect it to the physical, emotional, mental, and the spiritual well-being. And hence, we started organizing these programs right from a leadership basis to the employees. And these programs have helped us to reach the fabric of the organization, ensure that we are able to develop the capability in the central layer, which is managers. Managers for us are the key differentiators. And I think while managers understand performance nicely, what we need to help them build is how they can identify, assess early warning signs on mental health related issues. So I think while we understood this program holistically, we have now had people embarking on different aspects of mental well-being and related programs, whether it's manager mental health training, energy and resilience related aspects, where we have had more than around 40,000 people taking up different programs on energy and resilience. During the last 2 years with COVID webinars, we have focused on mental health and change management. One of the things which we have realized is that the two things which will make a difference for us is the ability to be heard, and employees need to speak. Employees need to have an avenue where they can see how each others are doing. And second is the flexibility to operate. So I think the two things which GSK has been focusing big time over the last couple of years is how do we enhance the dialogue within the organization? How do we open up this entire thing? We talked about it's okay not to be okay. It's a famous campaign beginning in Australia, spreading across now to many countries. But internally, it is about telling people that they can come forward, they can speak, they can share their stories, and in a certain manner, removing the stigma and the discrimination around it. And I think this journey has not been easy. We have been thankful to some of the speakers who have come from global corporations, including Unilever, including some renowned athletes, some awarded distinguished personalities who have come across. And I think what we are ultimately aiming is to give flexibility. So flexibility in working, flexibility in performance, flexibility with choice, but also flexibility to operate multiple options. Not everything clicks for every one of us. What we are believing in GSK is if we can give the employees a choice, whether it's online kind of healthy apps, or whether it's the offline kind of interventions, whether it is yoga, relaxation, meditation, mindfulness, Tai Chi, and other options. I think what really matters is how does the employee feel valued at the end of every day? If he feels that we as an organization are able to contribute and make a difference, it makes a huge difference, and the employee is really motivated to come out and give his best. So I think in a nutshell, while we have spoken a lot, I'll just focus on these two aspects. The big change elements can be around creating the supportive atmosphere. And the second aspect is going to be around flexibility. And that's what we are going to take forward in our journey going in the future. Thank you so much. I'll hand it back to Dr. Pawan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain. Yes, do more, feel better, and live longer. Wonderful line that we have been definitely reading many times. Thank you so much for sharing the perspective of GSK. Yes, pharma organizations are contributing what best they can. And when with you at HEM, definitely GSK will be contributing much better. Thank you once again, Dr. Jain. With, immediately, as we have run out of time, and this was ought to happen, very important topic. So many esteemed people available up here, and they're spending time on this fine Sunday evening. This was destined to happen, that we will cross our time. So spare a few more minutes, and let's hear what Dr. Sandeep Sharma has to say about one of the largest giant of in the oil industry, Indian Oil Corporation. Over to Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan, and thanks to all the panelists and all the panelists who have shared their views, and the panelists who are very much there from the very beginning of this panel discussion. And to share my view from Indian Oil Corporation is that we are a big energy major of Indian Oil Corporation, and during this last 1.5 years of the COVID pandemic, our operations were not affected, and this shows our resilience, our connect with the people, our effective delivery, which was very important. And this was all possible because of the leadership commitment from Indian Oil Corporation and the resilience of our people. So mental health issues are definitely there amongst our employees, and we are not insulated from this menace. And for last 1.5 years, we have seen that because of the new norms of work, a lot of issues have cropped up. So we are taking care of all those issues, and we are trying to provide platform to the people to connect with each other, to vent out their feelings, to come out for the help. Because until and unless we vent out our feelings, it won't be possible for us to elevate our mental health issues. So it is a long journey. It is not a 1 day or 2 day issue, as Dr. Ashish Jain has already told. It is a continuous journey, and we started this journey with our stress management workshops, which are periodically conducted. Then our management focused on the happiness, because we launched this project Happiness in Indian Oil Corporation. We connected with all our employees with what are the issues which are important for maintaining happiness and for increasing the happiness levels amongst our employees. So these are all continuous features. And during this COVID pandemic, when the movement was restricted, people were stuck down in their houses. At that time, what our management has focused more on is the digital platform. So digital platform was an opportunity for every one of us. And you won't believe that more than 6 lakh courses on e-learning modules they have been conducted by our employees. Our employees have undergone these e-learning modules. So even in occupational health and mental health, we have developed e-learning modules from our corporate health safety environment, and like how to elevate your, how to increase upon your happiness, how to manage stress at workplace, how to take care of the new norms of work. All these new e-learning modules, they have helped a lot amongst our employees. Then we have already issued more than 40 advisories to provide authentic information. So this providing authentic information to the employees was a key pillar of our this journey, and because this will elevate the anxiety of the employees, and it will give the right information how they should proceed, how they should act during this COVID pandemic. Then, as you all know, that it is a whole organization with a strong workforce of more than 31,500 employees, and we have employee assistance program, a very robust employee assistance program in Indian Oil Corporation, which I would like to tell that there are 3 levels of employee assistance program. And first, primary intervention level, we were very robust. We have provided all facilities, all necessary facilities to our employees at the workplace, all sort of environmental things, all sort of ergonomics things, every facility is available to our employees. And the tertiary level, all sort of like plannings for the employees, their financial plannings, their retirement plannings, their medical health, their medical coverage, everything was there. Only some link which we had to strengthen was the middle link, that was the secondary intervention. And that's for this secondary intervention, we have now developed a platform for our employees to connect with the specialists, with the psychologists, with the psychiatrists, so that they can come out with their feelings, they can whatever feelings about their mental health they have. So in this regard, we are connecting with the people, and a lot of issues they have cropped up, and we have provided a toll-free line to our employees, and they are approaching our psychologists and the psychiatrists to take care of their anxiety and whatever problems are there. So this secondary intervention now is very important, and that we are focusing on, and this will definitely increase both the internal and the external resilience of our employees. And I told you that we are the energy major of India, and our services are essential services, and it was all because of a strong willpower, a strong mental health, a strong resilience, that we were able to deliver our best during this COVID times. We were supplying cylinders to all the kitchens, we were supplying fuel to all the vehicles, we are supplying energy to India, and wherever it was necessary, we adjusted as per the situation. So definitely we have to spread more awareness and elevate both the personal and the social stigma towards mental health. And during this today's this World Health Day on mental health, we have to pay attention to the mental health in addition to the physical health, which as organizations everyone is focusing, but mental health is also very important, because we have seen that there is first aid for the physical health, very robust first aid mechanism for the physical health, but we have to create a platform for robust first aid for the mental health also. That is very important. And with this, I thank you very much for bringing our Indian Oil perspective at this forum. Thank you, Dr. Pawan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for sharing your thoughts. And yes, energy major, taking it ahead online, all the best support that you could have extended. And I learned from some of the sources that definitely this online mode has gone so high that probably the valuation of Zoom in particular on NASDAQ, I mean, soared like anything. I don't know if someone would be interested in looking at it sometime after this webinar have a quick look. I learned it from someone. And then about the information, yes, Dr. Sharma, that was a really appreciative step. 40 advisories, it was indeed in needed step, because India was becoming hub of misinformation, as we have been reading in a lot of publications also, that I read it somewhere that India was becoming hub of misinformation related to COVID. So thank you for all those wonderful contribution, Dr. Sharma. And I mean, wholeheartedly thank all of the eminent panelists and speakers for sharing their wonderful thoughts. We do not have time for Q&A, and I'm really sorry for it. I am the moderator. I should have kept a tab on it. I apologize for not being able to take the Q&A in today's session, because it will be very late otherwise. It's already Sunday evening. But yes, owing to, we are quickly taking quick feedbacks from a couple of our eminent panelists. And first and foremost would be Dr. Tyagaraju, who has been an excellent contributor in all of our webinars. This is the 73rd webinar that we are doing, and if I'm not mistaken on the number, and he has been there in all of them and has contributed. Dr. Tyagaraju, if you're able to hear us, and please share your thoughts and perspective on this webinar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pawan Gupta. It is a really great, wonderful. At the outset, it gives me great pleasure to listen Mrs. Nakwal, Mrs. Asha Kapoor, and Mrs. Vaishali Puranik, and as well as our Srinikit Mishra. It is a really wonderful start, the innings by our Rajiv Kumar Jain. He started like a Tendulkar, our Sunil Gavaskar. It is our time. A wonderful slides, and really it is a most model slides for us. And our highly educated and knowledgeable IAOH Secretary, Honorable Secretary Dr. Sandeep Sharma ji has very nicely he has elaborated about how Air India, how our Indian Oil Corporation is working, and how it is this one. It is a really thankful to Dr. Sharma ji for giving us a lot of information, because at this age we cannot go through the books or anything because of our commitment to the patients. And these kind of webinars are really helpful to us. Thank you, Dr. Pawan Kumar Gupta, for your enthusiasm and your hard work, and very dedicated person you are about this seminar. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the speakers. They were wonderfully, they have given us the knowledge.
Thank you so much, sir. And that is why, see, those nice words I wanted to hear about myself. That's why I went to you first. Thank you so much, sir. Over to Dr. Parik for quick comments, sir.
Everyone.
Yeah, good
it
evening,
was
sir.
a wonderful session, and we being a occupational health physician, as per the definition, we know we should maintain the highest degree of physical, mental, and also their social well-being. But as per our experience, we are aware that mental health is highly neglected aspect everywhere. But we see it is very, very important aspect in our life. As for example, a millionaire having wealth and everything in his life, but suppose his mental is sick, so is he able to enjoy his wealth or whatever comfort zone he has? No. Same way when we deal with our workers in the industry, it is very, very important. So today, I wish all of you happy World Mental Health Day. And it was wonderful discussion by Madam Vrishali, Madam Asha, and Dr. Anjali, and also our renowned Jain Saab, Dr. Sandeep Sharma, and all. So today it was wonderful discussion, and I am so happy that I'm part of this.
Thank you.
And hope it will be helpful to all of us in our organization also. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
And congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. If Dr. Chanda Tripathi, our former president of AUSD, is able to hear us, I mean, if video was on, definitely it would be really good. But since I can see her, she is there. So, and it has been always a great pleasure having her on the panels. And if Dr. Tripathi is able to hear us, we'd like to have quick thoughts. Else, Dr. Siva, yes, if at all you're able to hear. Yes, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I think it was an excellent presentation. And I am so happy that mental health has become a very important thing today. I remember 31 years back when I started mental health program in my organization, many of my colleagues used to laugh at me. They used to tell me, what you are wasting your time on this. We used to do 3 days workshop. And they used to say, what do you do for 3 days? And we used to analyze individuals. And we believe that the individual who can manage himself well can manage the organization better. So much so, we had leadership development program at IIM Bangalore. It was a 6 months program and a 6 weeks program. But in that, in the first week was a self-management program because we wanted to have better leaders. I'm very happy that today mental health has got so much of importance. And it is so important because many of you will remember the 2020 International Conference, I made a oration on mental health and non-communicable disease. We have to understand that we can take care of non-communicable disease better if we manage our mental health better. Thank you very much, Pawan.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It's a good connection, sir. Ms. Kapoor was trying to connect that non-communicable disease and mental health. So Ms. Kapoor, here it is. Dr. Siva has given a wonderful oration. Let's see. We'll try to have a look at it and see how best we can correlate it in coming days when probably we'll be having you more with us on the panel. So with that, if cannot see any more videos on, we are moving towards the end.
Pawan,
Thank you so much.
Pawan.
Yes, please.
Ashish would like to make an announcement regarding
Yes, sir. We are not ending it. It will be passed on to Dr. Sharma for taking it ahead. But I'm just concluding this particular webinar on mental health that we were doing, and then it will be a next part of it related to the announcement, and that would be taken care by Dr. Sandeep Sharma. Thanking all of you wholeheartedly for joining us this evening and sharing your wonderful thoughts. We have this recording, and this with us, it will be posted on our YouTube channel. We can definitely go back and have a look at it whenever we have time, in case anything is missed. And if you want to circulate it to your larger audience, because it is ultimately going to a very large audience across India and across globe. And you can also forward it. It will be shared with you, or the links will be shared. Secretariat will make effort to share the link with all of you. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful Sunday evening. Over to Dr. Sharma for further deliberation, please.
Thank you, World Mental Health Day. And we know that you have spared your valuable time. You should have spent with your family. And let us spare you for the good family time.
Yes, rushing to a birthday function of a 8-year-old. They are kind of family to us, and they have been waiting. At 6, it was supposed to start. So I'll just rush to that place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. And
told us a few early signs and few coping mechanisms. This is really will be helpful for us as an industry physician. And it was a great webinar. Thank you so much for arranging this.
Thank you, madam, for being a part of this webinar. And definitely this is a very auspicious day, and we all need to work towards the mental health. And we came to know about this importance during this COVID pandemic, and we should care for everyone. We should show our empathy rather than sympathizing with the people who suffer from these mental illnesses, and let us make it a reality. So this can be done together only, and this we will definitely work it out in our respective organization. And this webinar is a good networking opportunity to learn the perspectives from different organizations, from the specialist point of view, from the people who take it forward, like FamHealth. They are the great resource person they can be a great resource person for every one of us, because they had been in this field for quite a long time. And thanks to all the panelists, and thanks to Dr. Ashish Mishra also for giving us the perspective on how we are going about with this ICO bidding process. We hope that we will get the ICO 2027. And for your information to our guest faculty,
this is very good news for me.
Yeah.
So 2027 ICO, I think we will host.
We are going to bid for it, ma'am.
Okay.
In February, and to our guest faculties, there is a special subcommittee on mental health issues in this International Commission on Occupational Health. This mental health is a very important aspect of our preventive health across the globe, and people are focusing on this. And even this 22nd World Congress on Safety and Health, psychosocial issues, mental health issues, they were discussed at a great length. And Dr. Shiva, our past president, who has joined from Mumbai, he has been a resource person on mental health for every one of us for a very long time. And we always look forward towards him to seek his support and guidance regarding this mental health issues. And Dr. Kishorji Parekh is our Joint Secretary of Indian Institute of Occupational Health from Vadodara. And Dr. Shashi Bhushan is our Joint Secretary from Delhi branch of AUSD. And Dr. Ashish Mishra, I have already introduced you. He is National Secretary for International Commission on Occupational Health and Medical Health of the Hindustan Unilever, Southeast Asia. And Dr. Chanda Tripathi, ma'am, she has spared her valuable time. That is very enthusiastically I have received this this gesture, ma'am. And I thank Dr. Rajiv Kumar Jain, sir, for sparing his valuable time and for giving us an insight to organize this program. And thank to Dr. Anjali Nagpal, ma'am, for staying with us during this whole webinar. And thanks to Dr. Mrs. Asha Kapoor and Mrs. Vishali Pramanik also. And thanks to all the participants and all the panelists. We will take this forward. This is not a one-day journey. We have to together we have to take it forward. Thanks to Dr. Tyagaraja sir also.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all very much for joining this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.